Hey, it's Rick from DreamSideOut, kind of summing up a little journey I made to the ocean, kind of my end of the year summary of things. So hope you enjoy it. Howdy. Well, I want to summarize my little journey that I've had for the past several days. I went from one of my home base areas in Gig Harbor, where I did the repair on the hood and the bumper. I took off right from there and just started driving across toward Port Townsend, and then I went up along the Straits of Juan de Fuca, past Port Townsend and Squim, and then I ended up shooting clear up to Neah Bay. Now, if you look on the map, Neah Bay is a little point of land right up in the upper left-hand corner of the lower 48 states. It sticks right out of the water. The tribal atmosphere of the Makah Indians up there. They have a kind of an interesting way of life that's gone back for I don't know how long. I think they've been there for about 1,000 years. Indigenous people have lived in that little area for that long, and somehow they've made that work for that period of time. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. There's an archaeological dig up there where they dug up some ancient stuff from the tribe. They found interesting artifacts. They found bamboo structures. Where did bamboo come from? It either floated clear across the Pacific, or there were Chinese people on the West Coast before Europeans. So it's just an interesting place, historical, lots of ancient stuff. I just love going up there, and it sticks right out into the ocean there, and it's very wild, and the weather is always wild. It was pouring down rain. You hardly ever can go up there without it being rainy. But it's a very interesting place. I didn't do a very good job of documenting it. It was rainy. I was in the van. I'd step out for a minute, capture something, and it wasn't that great. So I don't know if I got enough for a good video of the whole experience. But it made me start thinking about the whole minimalist thing again. If you have the chance, you should go visit anywhere where there's indigenous people that have lived in a place for a long period of time, and just study how they lived. And when I looked at the, they have a replica in the museum up there of the Makah Indian longhouses that they built. They actually built these elaborate structures out of cedar planks, and they were basically cedar houses with pitched roofs and everything. They knew how to build a house right, and they did that to kind of stay out of the weather up there. And you look in these longhouses. I shouldn't say little; they were usually big. They housed several families at a time, but they knew how to live very efficiently off of everything that was around them. And it's just something we've lost, completely lost. Smaller tribes of people know how to do that sort of thing. When it becomes so big that you're dependent on somebody you don't even know, to have a van, right? You're dependent on a car manufacturer in Detroit or something, or everything I have in here is made by somebody else, oh yeah, I did a little bit of the woodwork stuff, but the functioning parts were made by somebody somewhere else, and it's just a different world than it was back then. Small communities of people were able to get by just fine. We evolved into these mass communities of people, these big, huge countries and all kinds of stuff. It's just mind-boggling. I don't have anything profound to say about it other than it's just mind-boggling to think about. You can ask the question why or how, or I suppose there's anthropologists and archaeologists that can give you all those kinds of theories and stuff, but I don't know. It seems like there's a tendency. There's sort of a critical mass. Maybe that's it. Here's my theory coming. Okay, maybe there's a critical mass. Maybe people get like our society right now. It's gotten to a point where people are starting to opt out of it, and I'm one of those. I've opted out to a certain point. Not completely. I can't completely opt out. I can't go live like those people up there because I wouldn't make it. You'd have to have a tribe of people that have the kind of skills they had to make a living off the land like they did. None of us could do that right now. I know there's people out there that try it, but it's just pretty much it's a difficult thing to do. But the critical mass thing, I wonder if that's what is happening with the whole van dwelling thing. It seems like a generation now of people are starting to opt out of basic things. Like, I know that there's a lot of young men, millennial age young men that are opting out of marriage. I don't want to get off on a whole discussion on that, but they see how the traditional marriage thing didn't work too well for their parents and others. And now people are opting out of the traditional buying property and building a structure or getting a mortgage and a job and so. Now there's different ways of looking at it, right? Is that good or bad? I don't know. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying there's some sort of shift, and I know that all I can do is examine my own self and ask myself why I'm doing this. And I have to do that every now and then. I have to stop and ask myself, Rick, why are you living in a van? We throw these words around: minimalism, freedom, all those kinds of things. I think there's something deeper, though. There is something deeper that I'm trying to get words around. So I'm going to stop and think about it. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about freedom, and it's an option, it's a way of living that's different than that you can choose. Those are kind of practical things. I think there's something in us, though, that goes deeper, and there's this need for the myth, the adventure, the story. If you ever read any of Joseph Campbell, sorry if I offended any Mormons out there. Joseph Campbell was a guy that wrote about mythology a lot, and his take on it is that it's an absolute essential for being human. And you take a look at, you read the history and the stories of the Native Americans around here, and they had, it doesn't matter what tribe you go to, they have their stories that are very important to who they are. It's part of their identity. Their stories, their myths, and it overlaps with physical reality. There's gray areas in their myths. I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell whether it's a myth or it's actually true, because they kind of integrate their existence with a story somehow. I really think this whole van thing strikes a chord on that. I mean, when I was starting to get into this, it was the adventure and the story of it that really appealed to me. You know, it's kind of like a lot of things, though. You might imagine going on an interesting journey somewhere, or an interesting expedition of some kind, a mountain climbing, a hiking experience, a trip to a foreign country. It's never quite the way you imagine it, but still there's something that drives you to do that. And I think it's really this whole myth, this story thing that we have to have. Now I'm going out on a limb with my theories here. People might disagree with me and say, "Oh, Rick, you're just full of it." But no, I really think that's part of it for me. I think it is. I see it in a lot of other people in their you know, we talk around it a lot because we talk about it being something that's that this lifestyle gives us freedom. It gives us financial freedom. It's an option. But you know, there's just something missing in our culture. We don't have an identity anymore that is connected to a real hardcore, a real story. But I think that's why a lot of people are getting interested in history again. I see that a lot. People are a lot of groups now are really interested in the Civil War and the Revolutionary War and in where we came from. Yeah, I'll call this little bit of video here one of my profound coffee talk things, you know, because it seems like when I drink caffeine I get real profound, so they must have something to do with it. You know, I know people get profound when they drink other substances too, but I guess coffee does that for me.